This is attribution theory, and specifically focusing on Bernard Weiner, who is known as contributing and developing the attribution theory that we know today. And it was created by Billy Parsons and Charles Hall. So Bernard Weiner, or better known as Bernie Weiner, was born in 1935, and he was a psychologist who, as I said, is known for defining attribution theory, which seeks to explain emotional and motivational entailments of academic success and failure. His contributions included linking attribution theory to the psychology of motivation and emotion. So he received his undergraduate degree from the University of Chicago in 1955 and an MBA in industrial relations from the same University of Chicago in 1957. Following 2 years of service in the Army, he enrolled in personality at the University of Michigan, where he was mentored by John Atkinson, one of the leading personality and motivational psychologists of that era. He completed his PhD in 1963 and spent 2 years as an associate professor at the University of Minnesota before joining the psychology faculty at UCLA in 1965. So Dr. Weiner is a social psychologist known for attribution theory. Specifically, he focused in social psychology and did his work at the University of California, Los Angeles. So, attribution theory, and there is information in your book on it, as well as the supplemental reading. But there are 4 different theorists that contributed to attribution theory: Fritz Heider, Bernard Weiner, Jones and Davis, and Kelly, who are known for contributing to attribution theory. So attribution theory, as you can see here, focuses on internal and external, stability and instability, and so we'll look at it in a little more detail. But when students have experienced some type of failure or accomplishment, attribution theory describes what they attribute their success or failure to. So their feelings, their beliefs, their attitudes, and whether they feel that it's due to an internal or an external factor, whether it's due to something that's stable, meaning it won't change, or unstable, and whether they believe that and then finally, whether they believe it is due to controllability or uncontrollability. And so it's important to education because it helps to understand how students react to particular behaviors. When students attribute their failures to something that is out of their control, then they're really less likely to be able to make a change for the future. So it's important that as teachers we can help students to realize that they can take control of successes and failures by studying harder and putting forth greater effort, rather than believing that successes and failures are due to some external uncontrollable factor. So originally the theory was developed by Fritz Heider, but the model that we use today is from Dr. Weiner. And these are just a few details about the beliefs that go into attribution theory. And that really it's important to ask students how they feel rather than observers guessing how they feel. So to ask a student, why do you think you were successful, or why do you think you failed, is important to note, so that we can better understand what may cause them to put forth greater effort. And so it is important as a teacher to be able to think about what we say and how that might affect students, and you'll get that from the supplemental reading. But we may say things that cause students to believe that we think they are incapable of making good grades, or maybe they are capable of making good grades, and so we have to think about how we phrase things, because it may cause students to adopt a different type of attributional style. And we know that over time, students do have a specific attributional style, meaning they usually attribute failures to external, uncontrollable types of things, and they attribute successes to internal, controllable things. So we want to help students adopt the belief that whether they succeed or fail, it can be in their control, so that will lead them to put forth greater effort and be motivated. So here's kind of an example, certain behaviors. If we think that there's something within us like personality or intelligence, that is an internal attribution. Something on the outside is like a situation or the teacher or a difficult test, for example, and that's an external attribution. And so in attribution theory, we often believe that something like ability, again, like your intelligence, your ability, whether you're good at math or not good at math, or you're good at basketball or not good at basketball, is something that's going to be internal and stable. And it's going to be uncontrollable. So we believe that if we're good at math, that's not going to change. And it's something that's internal and stable. And we don't have control over it. And so we may say, oh, well, I did well because I'm really good at math. Or I didn't make the basketball team because I'm not good at basketball. And if that's the belief that's adopted, then you likely believe that's not going to change. And when a task is difficult, like the test was hard or something like that, it's going to be something external and stable. And we believe that it is not controllable. So we're likely not to try, but we may believe that it's going to be the same time and time again. And then putting forth effort, like applying study strategies or not procrastinating, is something that is internal and unstable. So next time you might procrastinate or you might use a different strategy that's ineffective. But we do believe that we can exercise a large amount of control. And then luck is something that's external and unstable and uncontrollable. And you'll get some practice with that for the quiz. So this is a good table, an example, and you can look at the one in the book as well to help you understand the different types of attributions and their effects. And then here's another example of stable, unstable, and internal and external that leads to different types of controllability and uncontrollability. So we definitely want to be sure that when we are successful or we fail, that we're attributing factors to something that's within our control, and we want to help our students to believe that as well, rather than attributing it to something that's uncontrollable or something that's going to remain stable. Helping students to develop appropriate study strategies is an important part of being a teacher.